There's a belief I grew up with, something my grandmother used to say every time we lit candles during the Zhongyuan festival, the ghost festival. If the candle doesn't go out by sunrise, she'd whisper, it means someone isn't ready to leave. It always sounded like a story meant to scare children, but I never forgot it. I'm Ning. I'm from Chengdu, and I've been studying in Washington, D.C. for about a year now. Life here is busy, class, part-time work, language barriers. But the hardest part has been the quiet, the kind that settles, in late at night when you're far from everything familiar. Last August, not long before the Ghost Festival, my uncle passed away. He raised me like a second father, especially after my own passed when I was young. I couldn't return to China. For the funeral, it was too soon, too expensive. The guilt sat in my chest like something heavy. So when the Ghost Festival came, I decided to honor him the way we used to, by lighting a single red candle. I placed it on my desk, next to an old photo I brought with me. Just for one night, I thought, to show I remembered him. But the candle didn't go out. The next morning, it was still burning. I thought maybe I bought a slow-burning kind, or that the air conditioning kept the flame protected. But on the second night, it burned. Again, and again on the third. By the fifth night, I started to feel something was off. It wasn't just the candle. It was the atmosphere in the apartment, heavier, still. My roommate was away for the week, so the place was quiet, too quiet. The candle barely shortened. Its flame didn't flicker. It burned like it had a purpose. And then there was the mirror. The morning of the seventh day, I noticed a foggy mark on the bathroom mirror, like someone had breathed on it. I wiped it clean, but the next day it returned. Same size, same shape, just high enough to be at my shoulder. No steam, no shower, no one else around. That night I let the candle burn down completely. I didn't relight it, but the breath mark stayed. And for the first time, I started to wonder if my grandmother's story wasn't a warning, but a reminder. Sometimes the ones we love don't leave right away. The candle was gone, but the ew feeling lingered. For days I avoided looking in the mirror too long. The foggy patch kept returning, light and small, like someone exhaling behind me. It always faded quickly, but the repetition unnerved me. I even tried wiping it with vinegar, thinking maybe it was just some weird residue, but the next day it reappeared. Always in the same spot. It was around this time I started lighting incense, the way my uncle used to during Qingming. I wasn't trying to invite anything. Just the opposite. I hoped it would settle whatever might have been disturbed. I burned a single stick by the window, bowed my head, and whispered, if you're here, it's okay. But please, don't get lost. It felt silly at the time, but afterward, the apartment felt a little lighter. Still quiet, but less heavy. One evening, I stayed up late studying for a statistics exam. Around midnight, I stepped into the bathroom to wash my face. That's when I noticed something new on the mirror. Not fog this time, but ash. Just a few faint smudges shaped like tiny fingerprints. I froze. I hadn't burned anything inside that room. The incense was by the window, far from here, and the smudges were too high for me to have accidentally made them. I leaned in and studied them, half expecting them to vanish. They didn't. Later that night, I found myself opening my WeChat and scrolling through old voice messages from my uncle. He used to leave me reminders. Eat more vegetables. Don't skip breakfast. Remember to breathe during exams. I listened to them all in one sitting. When I finally fell asleep, I dreamed of him. We were in our old apartment in Chengdu, sitting on the balcony while it rained. He was humming a tune, like he used to. In the dream, I asked him, why haven't you left? He looked at me with a smile, tired but kind. You called me, he said. And I came. I woke, up with tears on my face. It wasn't fear, it was something closer to grief. And love. In Chinese tradition, we believe the spirit lingers for a while after death, especially if the person had unfinished matters, or if someone keeps calling to them with longing. Didn't mean to hold him back. I just missed him. I didn't get to say goodbye, but maybe the candle helped me do that. Maybe that's why he stayed. Just long enough. After the dream, something in me shifted. I stopped waiting for signs. The breath on the mirror still appeared now and then, and sometimes I'd catch a faint scent of sandalwood even when no incense was burning. But instead of being unsettled, I began to feel comforted. My uncle had never been loud in life. His presence was always quiet. He'd just show up when you needed him. And maybe, even after death, he was doing the same. Still, I knew it wasn't right to keep him here, not on purpose. In our culture, if you love someone, you have to let them go when it's time. You send them off properly, not for them to forget you, but so they can move on without worry. I started preparing. I called my mother back in Chengdu and told her what I had been feeling. Lightly, carefully. I didn't tell her everything, just that I felt like Uncle hadn't completely left. There was a long pause. Then she said gently, "He probably came because you didn't get to say goodbye." She helped me set a proper date, 15 days, after the Ghost Festival, a good time for letting go. She told me what to do: clean the space, offer food and tea, burn a final incense, and most importantly, speak from the heart. So I did. That evening, I placed a photo of him next to a small bowl of rice and a cup of jasmine tea. I lit a fresh stick of incense, let the smoke curl into the air, and knelt down. "I'm okay now," I whispered. "You don't have to worry about me anymore. I didn't get to say goodbye before, so I'm saying it now." The words were simple, but I meant everyone. The candle I lit that night was small, just a tea light. It burned quietly while I studied nearby, and I didn't check it constantly. I just let it be. When I woke the next morning, it was gone. No flame, no scent, no breath on the mirror. Just sunlight coming in through the blinds. Since then, I haven't seen anything strange. No ash, no reflections, no dreams. But I still keep his photo near my desk. Not because I think he's still here, but because I want to remember who he was, not how he left. The candle may be gone, but love doesn't disappear when the flame goes out. It just changes form. And sometimes when the wind is soft and the day is still, I feel like he's somewhere close, not watching over me, not haunting me, just resting. Finally. There's an old belief where I'm from. On New Year's Day, the living must not cross bridges before sunrise. It's said that wandering souls gather at the water's edge, and if you're not careful, one might follow you across, or worse, take your place. I never really believed in that kind of thing, not until the night I saw my grandfather on the other side of the bridge. My name is Tao. I'm from Suzhou, and now I study architecture in Miami. This is my second year here. Lunar. New Year always hits a little harder abroad. No red lanterns outside the doors, no smell of dumplings in the kitchen, no firecrackers echoing down the street. Just another day, unless you make something of it. So last year, I stayed up late on New Year's Eve, scrolling through old photos and talking to my parents back home. Around 2 a.m., I finally drifted off. That's when the dream came. I was back in Suzhou. It was cold, gray, and the air had that winter stillness I hadn't felt in so long. I was standing by an old stone bridge that crossed the river near my grandparents' house. It was the one we used to walk over when I was a kid, heading to the market on Sundays. But the water beneath it was darker than I remembered, almost black. On the other side stood my grandfather. He'd passed away 3 years earlier. A quiet man, always with a soft smile and a little red radio playing opera. In the dream, he looked just like I remembered, except for his eyes. They were wide and watery, as if he'd been waiting for someone. He raised his hand and waved slowly. I remember feeling warmth in my chest, relief even. I missed him. I stepped forward. The stone of the bridge was cold beneath my feet, damp with mist. As I approached the center, he opened his arms, inviting me to come across. But halfway across, I froze. Something felt wrong. Not fear, exactly. Just weight, like something pressing down on my shoulders. My breath clouded in the cold, and I noticed something strange. My shadow wasn't following me. It was gone. I turned around, and there was nothing behind me. No village, no sky. Just fog. My grandfather spoke then, for the first time. "Come, Tao. It's been a long time." His voice was calm. Too calm, like he already knew I wouldn't say no. But I did. I backed away slowly, off the bridge, never taking my eyes off him. He didn't move. He just stood there, arms still outstretched, until the mist swallowed him whole. I woke up with sweat on my neck and the sound of water in my ears, and the strange thing was, when I opened my phone, the time read 4:44 a.m. I tried to forget the dream. Maybe it was just homesickness. Maybe my brain pulled up memories of my grandfather because I'd spent the night looking at old photos. It was the new year after all. Everyone gets nostalgic. But there were things that didn't make sense, like the smell. When I woke up that morning, my room, usually stuffy and still, smelled faintly of sandalwood. The same scent my grandfather used to burn on his altar back home. I don't own incense. I hadn't even opened a window. Yet the scent lingered through the morning, as if someone had just prayed there. I FaceTimed my mom that afternoon. I didn't tell her about the dream, just asked casually if she had done anything for Grandpa at home. She said yes. They had lit incense and made offerings for him after midnight. "You should do something too," she added, "even if you're far away. Just light a candle. Say something to him. He might be visiting." Visiting. The word stayed with me. I didn't know how much I believed in spirits. But that night, I followed her advice. I lit a white candle in a bowl of rice, set an orange beside it, and whispered, "Hi, Grandpa. I hope you're well. I miss you." I left it burning while I studied. At around 1 a.m., I went to brush my teeth, and I saw it. A wet footprint, just one, right in the middle of the tile floor outside the bathroom. It was shaped like a bare foot, narrow, old, with slightly splayed toes, like how my grandfather used to walk after his knee surgery. The floor wasn't wet anywhere else, just that single print. I stood there, staring at it, for what felt like minutes. No one else was in the apartment. My roommate had gone home for the break. I hadn't even showered that evening. I thought of the dream again. The bridge, the way the water looked too dark, too still. I remembered how cold the stone felt beneath my feet, how my shadow had vanished the closer I got to him. In Chinese culture, bridges are thresholds. They're places of transition between one state and another, between the living and the dead. On New Year's Day, they say souls roam freely but can't cross without an invitation. Maybe in the dream, he wasn't trying to scare me. Maybe he just wanted me to follow. Maybe he thought I was ready. I wiped up the footprint with a towel, but I didn't throw it in the laundry. I folded it carefully and placed it in a drawer. Some part of me wasn't sure that was just water, and some part of me was starting to wonder if he had really left at all. After the footprint, I didn't sleep much. I kept the candle by my desk. For days, relighting it every evening. The flame was always steady, never flickering, even when the ceiling fan was on. It felt like a small comfort, a quiet presence. I didn't feel afraid exactly, just watched. On the 7th day of the new year, I had the dream again. Same bridge, same fog, same cold air pressing down on me, but this time I wasn't alone. My grandfather was standing at the far end again, still smiling. But beside him stood a boy, me, maybe 8 or 9 years old. The kid was holding a red paper lantern and a bag of mandarin oranges. He looked happy, like he was ready to celebrate. I was older, on this side of the bridge, and I wasn't moving forward. "You've changed," my grandfather said gently. I nodded. "I'm not that boy anymore." He didn't argue, he just looked, sad but understanding. He extended his hand, not reaching, just holding it out as if asking, not pulling. And behind me, I heard a voice I hadn't expected. My mother's. "Don't look back," she said. "You're already on your path." I turned and saw no one, but I understood. In some stories back home, They say when a spirit wants you to follow them, it's not always to harm you. Sometimes it's out of love. They miss you and they want you near. But the living and the dead belong to different roads. If you cross too soon, you might never return. In the dream, I bowed deeply to my grandfather. "Thank you," I whispered. "I'm okay now." He nodded. And then, for the first time, he turned around and walked away. The boy followed, the lantern glowing softly until the fog swallowed them both. When I woke up, the candle had gone out on its own. The room felt different, still, but warm, like something had been settled. I folded up the towel I had kept with the footprint, burned a small piece of incense by the window, and whispered the final goodbye I hadn't said in years. "Rest well, Grandpa." Since then, I haven't dreamed of him again. But sometimes when I walk across the footbridge near campus, I slow down just a little. I keep my eyes forward, my breath steady. And I don't cross on New Year's morning anymore. Not because I'm afraid, because I remember. In some parts of China, when an unmarried person dies young, their spirit is said to wander, restless, lonely, and longing for the life they never lived. To bring peace, families sometimes arrange ghost weddings, ceremonies that marry two dead souls together, binding them so they don't return to trouble the living. I never thought I'd witness one. My name is Chung. I'm from Shanxi Province, now living in Chicago. I study literature here, but nothing I've ever read prepared me for what happened, either then or now. I was 9 years old the first time I saw a ghost wedding. It was summer, humid and sticky, and I was staying with my grandmother in her village. The nights there were quiet, no cars, no street lights, just the sound of frogs and distant dogs. One night, I woke up to the soft beat of a drum, slow, steady. It was past midnight. Curious, I slipped out of bed and followed the sound to the edge of the village. There, hidden behind rows of corn and a bamboo fence, I saw something I wasn't meant to see, a red canopy tent, lit only by firelight. Men in white funeral robes. A red sedan chair, the kind brides used in old times, resting in the center. But inside it was no living bride. Instead, there was a paper doll dressed in silk, her face painted in delicate strokes. Next to her sat another paper figure, a groom, his robe stiff, his face solemn. The wedding was between two dead people, or rather between two spirits. I remember the smell of burnt paper and incense, the soft murmur of chanting. Someone hung a red veil over the bride's paper face, while another man tied red thread between her and the groom's hands. Then, just before I turned to run, the bride's paper head turned slightly toward me. Not by wind, not by accident. I didn't scream. I couldn't. I ran straight back to my grandmother's house, heart pounding so hard I couldn't sleep for days. I never told anyone. I thought maybe I imagined it, but I never forgot it. Years passed. I moved to the US, started a new life. That village felt like a different world, something far away and tucked into childhood memory, until a week before, the Lunar New Year this year. A letter arrived at my apartment in Chicago. Thick red envelope, no stamp, no return address, no name. Just 2 Chinese characters pressed into wax. Wedding invitation. And inside it, a single sentence written in old-style calligraphy. The bride is ready. At first, I thought someone was playing a joke. A red wedding invitation from no one, with no return address, in a style no modern printer could produce. It had to be some strange prank, maybe a cultural art project, or one of my classmates trying to be clever. I tossed the envelope into my drawer and forgot about it. But the next morning, I found something strange on my desk, a thin red thread. Silk frayed at the end. I didn't own anything like it. It was just lying there, curled like a question mark on top of my laptop. I brushed it off, thinking maybe it had stuck to my clothes from the envelope. That night, I dreamed of the village. Again, in the dream I was standing where the ghost wedding had taken place. But this time the tent was gone, the paper figures gone. Only ash left behind, swirling in the wind. A red sedan chair stood alone in the middle of the field. Its curtain moved slightly like someone was inside. I woke up drenched in sweat. The next few days, the signs kept coming. I started noticing the number 7 everywhere. 7 unread messages, 7 missed calls, 7 stairs from my building to the sidewalk. In Chinese belief, the 7th day after someone dies is when the soul returns home for the last time. It's also the day the family burns items for the dead to take into the afterlife. Then I remembered the date I received the envelope. 7 days before the Lunar New Year. The same number of days between a death and the farewell ceremony. On the 3rd night, I walked past my mirror and stopped. There was something off. Not scary, just wrong. My reflection looked normal, but there was something at my feet in the mirror. Something red, stretched thin, curling around my ankles. I looked down. Nothing there. In the mirror, the thread was wound tight around both legs, just like the marriage thread used in ghost weddings to bind the bride and groom. That's when I finally called my mother. I didn't mention the dream, or the thread, or the mirror. I just asked, casually, if anything strange had happened back home. She went quiet for a moment. Then she said, "Your great-aunt passed away last week. No one told you because you barely knew her, but there was a wedding performed, a ghost wedding. Her family found a suitable match from another village." My stomach dropped. "Do you know the groom's name?" I asked. She hesitated. "No," one said, "but they performed it the old way, burned everything, even sent the invitation by air, just for the ritual, by air or by spirit." I didn't sleep the night after that phone call. The image of the red thread around my legs kept returning, tight, invisible, quiet. In Chinese folklore, a red thread is sometimes a symbol of fate, love, or destiny. But in the context of a ghost wedding, it meant something else entirely. Spiritual binding. Someone had chosen me. I don't know if it was my great-aunt or the family who arranged the wedding or the spirit of the groom himself. Maybe it didn't matter. The intention had already crossed the boundary between the worlds, and now I was caught in between. I wanted to believe that if I just ignored it, it would stop. Deep down, I knew better. Ignoring the dead doesn't make them go away, especially not when they think you owe them something. I went to Chinatown that morning. I found an old shop at the end of a narrow alley, one that sold incense, joss paper, and ceremonial items. The woman at the counter didn't ask why I needed what I bought. Maybe she already knew. Back at my apartment, I set up a small altar by the window, a bowl of rice, 3 sticks of incense, a cup of tea, and folded offerings made of gold and silver paper. Then I took out the red envelope, the wedding invitation, and placed it in the center. I didn't know the spirit's name. I didn't even know who the bride was meant to be, but I bowed 3 times and spoke clearly, from the heart. "I'm sorry I crossed your path. I didn't mean to witness your wedding or disturb your peace. I am not your bride, but I honor your journey, and I send this offering so you may move on without me." I lit the paper. As it burned, the candle beside it flickered and then steadied. The air grew warmer, not cold, not heavy, but light, as if something had let go. That night, I finally slept without dreams. The next morning, the red thread was gone. From my drawer, my mirror, my memory. The invitation had turned to ash. There were no more whispers, no more signs. But I still remember, not because I'm afraid, but because ghost weddings, as strange as they may seem, are still about love. About unfinished stories. About giving spirits what they never had in life. Closure. Now, whenever I walk past a red envelope or smell sandalwood in the air, I pause. Just for a second. Not all threads are meant to be tied, and not all invitations need to be accepted.